Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. You know that green piece of paper called the US dollar, the greenback? Well, it looks like it's about to get its butt kicked, and not just by any currency, but by China's yuan and India's rupee. That's right. The US dollar is facing a revolt, and it's not just a few countries looking for alternatives. It's a full-on rebellion against the king of currencies, the US dollar. So buckle up, folks, because in this video, we're going to dive deep into why countries are ditching the US dollar.
There are clear signs, however, that the US's economic dominance has shrunk, especially in the last 20 years. The share of global output and trade has shifted towards emerging market economies, particularly China. The US economy now accounts for about a quarter of global GDP, down from 30% in 2000.
Yesterday, Gazprom and its Chinese partners decided to move to rubles and yuan in 50-50 split when paying for Russian gas supply. I would add that short-sighted actions have spurred global inflation. It has already surpassed records that have been set many years ago in various countries.
With more and more countries agreeing to trade in the currency instead of dollar. The Reserve Bank of India has given the go-ahead for India and Tanzania to use their national currencies for bilateral trade settlement, which means that the countries can ditch the US dollar and India can use rupee for trade with Tanzania.
Well, media reports show that the Indian rupee is getting closer and closer to being a currency that can be used all over the world. Well, that view is driven by more and more nations moving towards de-dollarizing global commerce. Several countries have expressed an interest in using the rupee.
Listen up. The US dollar is about to get wrecked. The greenback is in trouble and the world knows it. The US dollar has been the boss of all currencies, but now it's under attack. More and more countries are looking for something else, and China's yuan is stepping up to take the crown. Beijing is on a roll, making deals left and right. The latest is with Brazil. They're ditching the US dollar and using their own currencies for trade. China's pushing hard for the yuan to take over, but India's rupee is coming up fast, too. The reason we should pay attention to this is that currencies play a crucial role in facilitating trade. The US dollar's widespread use grants the US an oversized impact on the worldwide economy, and a move towards an alternative currency would have negative consequences for America. Let's look at what's going down in Brazil. They announced a deal. This deal wasn't out of the blue. It's been in the works for a while, and it's pretty straightforward. Brazil and China used to use the US dollar for trade, but now they're going to use their own currencies. For trade, they will deal in their native currencies. China will use the yuan, and Brazil will use the Brazilian real. It'll save them money, promote more trade, and make investment easier. China is Brazil's biggest trading partner. Last year, the bilateral trade was worth over $150 billion, so it makes sense for them to ditch the dollar. But what's in it for China? They're on a mission to make the yuan go international. They're building a coalition of partners, and they've already made deals with 41 countries worth over $500 billion. The petro-yuan is also rising, meaning more countries are using the yuan to settle oil bills instead of the petrodollar. Russia, Iran, Venezuela, and some African nations are on board. Even Saudi Arabia is considering the switch, which would be a huge deal. And India's not sitting on the sidelines either. Last year, their Reserve Bank allowed international trade settlements in the Indian rupee. Banks in 18 countries have already opened special accounts to settle trade payments in the rupee. Other countries in Southeast Asia and Africa are also ditching the dollar and using their own currencies. But why is this happening now? How did the dollar become the world's reserve currency in the first place? It all started after World War II, when Allied countries met at Bretton Woods and created a system that shaped the global economy. By fixing their currencies to the dollar, these countries granted the U.S. significant influence over the global economy. The IMF and World Bank were also created, largely controlled by America. But now, countries are tired of being hooked on the dollar and want to give up this addiction. The dollar's still widely used, but it's losing its grip. Over $1 trillion notes are in circulation outside America, and 40% of the world's debt is issued in dollars. But with more countries switching to their own currencies, the dollar's downfall has begun. It won't happen overnight, but the king of currencies is facing a revolt. Is it time for a change?
Russia has suggested that BRICS countries should drop the US dollar in favor of national currencies when trading between the bloc. The group of 5 emerging economies includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, as well as South Africa. Its industry ministers met this week via a video conference.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Click the like button. Give this video thumbs up.